We want you guys to bask in the glow of the
Okay.
session.
John, did you find her? This is Ann for John. Did you find the justice? Go ahead. This is Ann for John. Do you copy? I can't hear him. Can you hear him? This is Ann for John. Are you on your way? Hold the button down longer. All right, should we go? Because the governor's here. Should we go, do you think? All right.
Justice Abrahamson wants to just come directly to your seat.
All right. All right. Sounds good. Hold on. We're ready.
Will members please take their seats and guests report to the gallery? Members, please take your seats. This means take your seats now. Thank you. The chair recognizes the Assembly Sergeant at Arms.
Mr. Speaker and members, Chief Justice Patience Rogensack and the Wisconsin Supreme Court have arrived. We're good. I've got my mic on, so. She knows.
The chair recognizes the Assembly Sergeant at Arms.
Mr. Speaker and members, the Wisconsin State Senate has arrived. Hi, good, Senator. Nice to see you. Hi, nice to see you. Hi, good. How are you? Hi. Hi, Senator Taylor. Hi. Good to see you. Hi, nice to see you. Hello, Senator. Good. Hello.
Nice to see you.
Hi, Senator Jack. What? He's here? I know. He showed up early. Hi, Chief. Good. How are you? None.
Oh, so you're about to go?
Whenever they're ready.
Well, after this freeze. Yeah.
Will the members and guests please take their seats? Will members and guests please take their seats? Pursuant to Article 5, Section 4 of the Wisconsin Constitution, the Joint Convention of the Legislature will come to order for the purpose of receiving the Governor's State of the State Address. At this time, I would like to introduce our distinguished guests. Lieutenant Governor Mandela Barnes. Attorney General Josh Call. State State Superintendent of Public Instruction, Carolyn Stanford Taylor. State Treasurer Sarah Godlewski. Supreme Court Chief Justice Patience Rogensack. Justice Shirley Abramson. Justice Ann Walsh Bradley. Justice Daniel Kelly. And Justice Rebecca Dallett. The joint conventions will stand in formal awaiting the arrival of the governor. And having said that, the joint convention shall come to order. The chair recognizes the Assembly Sergeant at Arms.
Mr. President and members, the governor of the great state of Wisconsin, the Honorable Tony Evers.
Got you on the mic.
At this time, it is my honor to introduce the governor of the great state of Wisconsin, the Honorable Tony Evers.
If we start over. Start clapping again. did that on purpose, sorry. Thank you and good evening, Honorable Supreme Court Justices, tribal nation leaders, constitutional officers, Major Dunbar, and members of the Wisconsin National Guard, as well as active and retired members of our armed forces, Senate President Roth, Majority Leader Fitzgerald, Minority Leader Schilling, Speaker Voss, and Minority Leader Hintz, Cabinet members, legislators, distinguished guests, and most importantly, the people of Wisconsin, welcome and thank you for being here tonight. Thank you. Before we get started, I also want to recognize someone else who's here with us tonight. He's a Wisconsin institution and embodies both the soul of our campus here in Madison and the spirit of our state. Marching Band Director and Director of Bands at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, Dr. Mike LaCrone. Mike? This year marks the 50th and final year leading UW's marching band, as he will be retiring at the end of this year. He's directed halftime shows for nearly half of Camp Randall's existence and has seen coaches and chancellors and band members come and go. But even more than the stop at the top or the fifth quarter post-game routines, the professor will be remembered for being a remarkable leader, teacher, and inspirer, not just for his students, but for people all across our great state. So tonight we honor the professor and thank him for his service. I'd also like to introduce my former junior prom date, Kathy, who's up there tonight in the gallery tonight. Kathleen, where are you? All my other kids and grandkids are, I'm sure, are watching from home. And I hope you're staying awake, because this is probably the most important speech of your lifetime. And thank you, family, for supporting me. I love you all, so thank you very much. I'm Tony Evers, and I'm incredibly honored to be here tonight as the 46th governor of the great state of Wisconsin to say this. The state of our state is that we have work to do, and we're ready for bipartisan solutions. You know, a few weeks ago, I stood just outside of here where I took the oath of office and delivered my inaugural address. And I remind you today, just as I did weeks ago, of the spirit of our service, the power that we have, and the responsibility that we bear. We are a state forged by the Wisconsin idea, the notion that education informs our public policy and that knowledge should embrace the communities we're called to serve. But today we're also a state among the worst to raise a black family, and we're a state that's spending more on corrections than our entire University of Wisconsin system. We are a state that once cultivated new technology from typewriters to automobiles. We've led the nation in innovation. But today we are a state that's behind in broadband expansion, and we trail the country in startups and small business creation. We are a state that was the birthplace of Badger Care, and we've been a laboratory for democracy. But today we are also a state where it becomes cheaper to get health care by driving across the Mississippi River. The realities we face are bigger than yours truly or any political party. The magnitude of our challenge require us to put people first because, as I've said it before, that is the promise of our service. So tonight I'm asking you to join me in making good on that promise by moving forward together. Fixing our economy remains a top priority. That's why just this last week, I directed the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation to create an innovation and entrepreneurship committee focusing on supporting our small businesses, seeding capital funds, and technology development. But there is more to an economy than counting job creation. And the state of our state is more than just our unemployment rate. The opportunity we have to offer is not just the number of jobs we create, it's counted too. It's counted too by the number of workers who will work 40 hours each week just to keep their family out of poverty. The strength of our success is not found solely in fiscal surplus. It's defined too by the number of our kids that will go to school hungry tomorrow. And the metric for my grandkids and your posterity is also not just what we keep in the coffers for a rainy day. It's measured too by the quality of the natural resources we're leaving behind for our kids and their grandkids after them. The state of our state is the work of Lisa, who is also in the gallery tonight. Lisa? Where are you, dear? Lisa is the founder and president of the Foundation for Black Women's Wellness. The foundation serves more than 1,000 women and girls working to eliminate health disparities affecting Black women, their families, and their communities. Thanks so much, Lisa. I appreciate your great work. The state of our state is also about the story of Jen, who grew up in Cashton. Because of the Affordable Care Act, Jen has access to comprehensive, patient-centered care that is tailored to her needs. Being able to afford services and insurance has allowed Jen to take control of her health from preventative to reproductive to behavioral health care. Jen is also here in the gallery tonight. Thank you much, Jen. The state of our state is the story of Jose, who came to Abbotsford from Mexico with his parents when he was 12 years old. Jose learned English through Abbotsford's English as a Second Language program and gained a sense of community when he signed up to play baseball in high school. Jose decided to stay here in Wisconsin. He still lives in Abbotsford, where he is raising his sons, Marco and Nicholas, and coaches their baseball team, the Broncos. And he has become, a naturalized citizen, and his son, Marco, and he are up in the gallery tonight. Please stand and be recognized. of our state is the story of students like Alex from Boyceville Middle School. Alex's teacher describes her as having the drive and passion that makes her such a strong student, and she's excited to come to work every single day. Alex has worked hard to turn things around in school and is now passing all of her classes, has no missed assignments, and has gone above and beyond to help other students too. And it's also the story of students like Diamond from Parker High School in Janesville, where the school nurse describes her as the strongest young lady she has had the pleasure of knowing. Diamond's family has had some tough times, but Diamond has persevered, is excelling in school, and has dreams of becoming a pediatrician or a pediatric nurse. Diamond is here in the gallery, and tonight I'm excited to announce that Alex and Diamond are first ever recipients of the Star Student Award in Wisconsin. Diamond, could you please stand? Way to go, Diamond. Great job. When I stood before you just a few weeks ago to deliver my inaugural address, I said it was time to get to work, and we have. But the real work, the hardest work, is yet to be done. Last month, Mandela and I traveled across the state listening to Wisconsinites talk about their values and their vision for the future. We talked about policies and solutions that connect the dots. I keep saying that, connecting the dots, and I've been asked several times, what in the world do I mean by that? It's about seeing the forest through the trees. It's about seeing the connection between how a lack of access to affordable housing affects kids in their classrooms. It's about seeing the connection between drug and alcohol addiction and the burgeoning criminal justice system. It's about seeing the connection between a budding entrepreneur who wants their own business and how the rising costs of health insurance might push that dream out of reach. The budget that I'll be introducing in the next couple weeks is about connecting those dots. And to no surprise, as it always has been for me, it starts with education. Thank you. Connecting the dots means recognizing that what's best for our kids is best for our state. The investment we make in our kids today will yield dividends for generations. That's why our budget reaffirms our state commitment to our kids by returning to 2/3 funding for the schools across Wisconsin. And I was especially pleased to learn that the Speaker has encouraged his members to support this provision in our budget, and that I hope I can count on your support going forward. In addition to 2/3 funding, we're also going to make sure that we have the resources to support our kids with special needs. For the past decade, we've not only cut funding for our public schools, we've failed to fully fund services for special education. Now, this has forced local school districts and taxpayers to squeeze resources from other areas to provide these critical services. Our budget will provide an unprecedented $600 million increase in special education funding. This means our school districts will have enough to allocate the resources they do have to other areas of high need. And we're not just going to increase support for our kids with special needs. We're going to get to work in closing the achievement gap for low-income students and students of color. Our state's achievement gap is among the highest in the nation in reading and math scores. As state superintendent, I submitted proposals that would have helped address our state's achievement gap. Unfortunately, most of these proposals never made it through the legislative process. I believe this is the year they will. And my urban initiative programs will also empower minority students in our state's highest need districts by expanding early childhood education and summer school grant programs. It is urgent that we increase support for our low-income students and students of color. The longer we wait to invest in closing our achievement gap, the wider the gap will get and the more it will cost us in the long run. Finally, we're going to propose a 5-fold increase in mental health programs for our K-12 kids across our state. But funding mental health programming in our schools is not enough. So tonight, we renew our commitment to making sure everybody has access to quality, affordable health care. We've already started working to make sure health care in Wisconsin is affordable and accessible. We signed executive orders creating a Healthy Communities Initiative and calling upon the Department of Health Services to prioritize these goals. We also called upon our state agency to connect the dots and work together on how we can protect health care coverage for people in our state. But our work can't stop there. That's why our budget will also seek to expand Medicaid in Wisconsin. According to the Nonpartisan Legislative Fiscal Bureau, this will enable an additional 76,000 Wisconsinites to have access to affordable health care. On top of that, this would also save Wisconsin taxpayers hundreds of millions of dollars, allowing us to reallocate those cost savings to other critical programs. We have a real opportunity here, folks. And at the end of the day, Mr. Majority Leader and Mr. Speaker, health care should not be a partisan issue. You know, Republican states like Kentucky and Nebraska and Idaho have expanded Medicaid, and so have Democratic states such as Washington, California, and Minnesota. We should be able to get it done here, too. The people of Wisconsin voted for a change this November and asked us to stop playing politics with their health care. That's why I'm announcing tonight that I have fulfilled the promise I made to the people of Wisconsin by directing Attorney General Call to withdraw from a lawsuit that would gut coverage for the 2.4 million Wisconsinites who have pre-existing conditions. I've said all along that I believe the best way to maintain protections for health care here in Wisconsin is to stop trying to dismantle those protections at the federal level. In addition, we're going to address Wisconsin's transportation funding crisis. I appointed Secretary-designate Craig Thompson because I know that he will work on both sides of the aisle for a solution that works for Wisconsin. I fully expect that he will be approved with the consent of the Senate. I've said all along that I believe we have to bring people together to work on this issue, and I believe Secretary-designate Thompson can get it done. In the coming days, we'll be announcing a task force of stakeholders to get to work on a bipartisan policy solution to be included in the people's budget. The task force will solicit feedback from key partners from all regions of the state, all sectors of the economy, and users of all different modes of transportation. And while I know that caucus members in both houses support different approaches to solving our transportation funding crisis, it's going to take sacrifices and compromise to find a long-term, comprehensive solution that works for everybody. But roads and bridges are only a small part of the infrastructure challenges facing our state. That's why I'm also declaring 2019 is a year of clean drinking water in Wisconsin. According to the Department of Health Services, 1.7 million Wisconsinites depend on private wells for water, and 47% of those wells do not meet acceptable health standards. Meanwhile, according to the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, we have an estimated 176,000 lead service lines across our state. Removing lead service lines could cost over $2 billion. But Pew Charitable Trust estimates that for every dollar we spend on replacing lead drinking water lines, we will see a 133% return on our investment in higher lifetime earnings and better health outcomes. What a deal. That's why in the coming weeks, I'll be signing an executive order to designate a person at the Department of Health Services to take charge on addressing Wisconsin's lead crisis and to help secure federal funding for prevention and treatment programs. We have to get this done. And finally, we're going to cut taxes by 10% for everyone making up to $100,000 a year and families making up to $150,000 a year. Sorry. But we're not going to do it by spending money we don't have or that might not be there in 2 years. I don't make promises I can't keep, and I'm not going to propose things that we can't pay for. So instead, we're going to fund tax relief for hardworking families by capping a corporate tax, 80% of it, which goes to filers making more than $1 million per year. An economy that works for all of us, healthier communities, more money for our schools and kids, better roads and infrastructure. That is what the people of Wisconsin expect from us, and that is what the people of Wisconsin deserve. Given the challenges we face, I expect the legislature will focus on these important priorities instead of being distracted by division and preventing us from working together to get things done. You know, in the governor's conference room, inscribed on the ceiling is a phrase that reads, "The will of the people is the law of the land." The will of the people is the law of the land. That means I expect legislation arriving on my desk will be passed with broad support and the spirit of bipartisanship. That means instead of taking up an entirely new budget of its own, I expect the legislature to take up the budget I crafted by and with the people of the state of Wisconsin. I'll tell you today, as I told you a few weeks ago, that I have never been more hopeful about our state and our kids' future. I have no doubt that there will be issues on which we disagree. I have no doubt that there will be times we will be frustrated by the deliberative process of democracy and making sausage. But we will engage civilly, we will have discourse and dialogue, but it will not devolve into disrespect. And we will govern with a humble appreciation that the will of the people, our people, is the law of the land. Now, let's get back to work. Thank you, and on Wisconsin.
This time, the representative of the 5th District, Representative Steinecke. Representative from the 24th. Would you like to move that the joint convention arise? The representative from the 24th moved that the joint convention arise. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those opposed, no. The ayes have the joint convention to arise.
Gentleman from the 24th, would you like to ask unanimous consent that the assembly stand in recess? Without objection, the assembly is in recess.
The WTO hadn't done anything about it so far, and the response is that is correct, but here's why. When China entered the WTO in 2000, no one imagined how important they would become in the grand scheme of things. China didn't matter in 2000 the way it matters in 2018. So I think the organization as an institution, when China was sort of violating the rules, they kind of looked the other way here and there because they were small, they were developing. They still, by the way, are a very poor country, and so we kind of give those countries passes here and there. But then it became a habit, and now it's a real problem. And it really needs to be at the WTO level that we force this to be fixed. Doing it as a trade war costs money for everyone. How much money? Well, let's talk about it. The first element of the trade war was in January of last year, when the administration announced that there would be a tariff on solar panels and washing machines. That was the very beginning of all this, back in January. Solar panels and washing machines. Now, who cares about solar panels, right? What's the big deal? Who buys solar panels, by the way? Rich people in California, okay? So why not punish them, right? So you get tariffs on solar panels and washing machines. How often does anybody buy a washing machine? Every 5-6 years, so nobody's going to notice the tariff on washing machines. What's it going to matter? But then as the year went on, in March, 25% tariff on steel, 10% tariff on aluminum. The Chinese start to retaliate as time goes on, and suddenly we find ourselves all the way here in the summer of 2018, and half the trade between the U.S. and China is now under a 10% tariff. And if we don't settle things by March, again, March seems to be kind of the month to watch. If we don't settle things, the tariff goes to 25%. Now, a 10% tariff we can all live with. I mean, that's kind of a little sand in the gears of commerce. But what about a 25% tariff? No, things start to get really, really serious. And you start to realize that the first goal that I talked about of sort of improving the terms of trade around the transfer of technologies and intellectual property, that's one goal. But the administration's second goal, the one that I think they're actually after, is to shrink the trade deficit. That's really their goal. Their real goal is to shrink the trade deficit by half. Now, who does that benefit exactly? No one. Let me be really clear. That benefits no one. And here's why. If I shrink the trade deficit with China, what does that mean? Well, you have to ask yourself, why do we have a trade deficit with China? Why do we have a trade deficit with China? Because it basically means our imports exceed our exports when it comes to goods. If you put services in there, the trade deficit shrinks pretty much. But it just means we import more than we export. Now, if I say, well, why do we have a trade deficit with China? You go, oh, it's because they make so much cheap stuff. That does not answer the question of why we have a trade deficit with China. Because they make cheap stuff for everybody, but is Cuba running a trade deficit with China? Is sub-Saharan Africa running a trade deficit with China? Maybe small ones, but not the ones like we have. Why do we run a trade deficit with China? Why do we buy so much from them? Why do we buy so much from them that we fill up every closet in our house, then our garage, then we have to go get a storage facility because the garage is full because we bought so much from China? Why do we buy so much from them? Because we are rich. Because we can. The reason